actually wanted to start with Spurs. I wanted to start with Tottenham before we get onto the VAR stuff and the media shamelessly bringing up City's charges. Ange Postecoglou has slammed Tottenham fans, saying there is a problem with the foundations inside and outside the football club. We've seen him kicking off with fans in the stadium for celebrating Tottenham losing. And he is essentially saying that having those low standards, not looking at winning yourselves and sort of being stuck in the tribalism is part of the problem that Tottenham Hotspur have. Hassan, what is your take on this big argument and Spurs' mentality being slammed?
I think, when it comes to the situation with Ange Postecoglou, I'm actually going to make a 180-degree turn right now. I'm going to make an apology publicly to Ange Postecoglou. I'm going to say, I'm sorry to Ange. You're actually not the problem. Because, I sat here and I criticized Ange for... Listen, some of the football criticisms I stick by. Playing a high line against Chelsea, I think, is essentially, with 9 men. That's just a death wish, sorry. But I sent Terry a video earlier on of what Conte said, what Mourinho said, and what Ange Postecoglou said. And there's huge similarities in the concepts, in the theories, in everything that they are saying. And, when it comes to Ange Postecoglou, he's kind of been literally, speaking to the Spurs fans and the ones who just keep talking about bragging rights and all that. I mean, Spurs have finished above Arsenal over the last 6-7 years multiple times. Does that give them any bragging rights? As he said, there's no bragging rights trophy. I actually think Ange is now not the problem. Ange is the solution. And I think him coming out and saying the foundations from within are a problem shows that there's actually much bigger problems than we actually even think. And the reality is, when you look at the Spurs team, let's look at their managers over the last 10 years or so. Let's look at their managers. Pochettino, Nuno Santo, Jose Mourinho, Antonio Conte, Ange Postecoglou. All 5 are probably better than the Arsenal managers over the last 10 years, the United managers over the last 10 years, probably since Sir Alex, and maybe even equal level to the Chelsea managers or whatever, but they haven't won anything. And this shows that there is a problem. And there is a deep lying problem within Tottenham Hotspur. And this is the reality. And as he says, when he walks through the walls at Tottenham Hotspur, he doesn't see bragging rights trophies. He doesn't see we finished above Arsenal trophies. He sees actual trophies. He mentioned Bill Nicholson, from 80 years ago as the one that's still there. And there's a reason for that. And I think Ange Postecoglou actually called out his fan base for everything wrong with them. And I'll say this right now, and I'll be completely honest about it. There is a difference between not wanting Arsenal to win the league and celebrating a team scoring a goal against you. Those are 2 completely different things. Spurs fans at the stadium saying, stand up if you hate Arsenal, turning around and doing the Poznan and essentially wearing City scarves, I think that is literally epitomizes the problem at Tottenham Hotspur. And by the way, this wasn't even a club that has nothing to fight for. Because despite what Dan tried to shamelessly say yesterday and Harry, sorry, when it comes to Tottenham Hotspur, they did have top 4 to fight for. Now, some people might say top 4 is not blah, 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 and top 4 is not a trophy. Yeah, you're right, top 4 is not a trophy. But as Terry said, when it comes to foundations, top 4 might be the foundation to you getting those 2-3 world-class players that help you win trophies, that help you take it over the edge. And with all due respect, Aston Villa go to Crystal Palace away next. And Palace have been in good form. They could have won that game. So they had something themselves to fight for. And even you could tell, by the way, the players themselves, you could tell Ange had them ready for the game. Because they actually, Kulusevski got him behind, Son got him behind, even Brennan Johnson got him behind. But they failed to take their chances. They failed to take their opportunities. And they could have scored the goals. And I think there is a fundamental issue at Tottenham Hotspur and its mentality. That is the absolute biggest fundamental problem, whether it comes from the fan base, whether it comes from Daniel Levy, whether it comes from the ownership. But now we have realized it's not Ange's problem anymore. Because yesterday's press conference, you could see he was seething. And if I'm a Spurs fan, I'll be shitting myself right now. I'll tell you why. Because Ange never said it's just the outside. He said on the inside. As soon as he said the problems are also on the inside, it shows that there's a much bigger problem. Could there have been Spurs players who wanted to not win yesterday?
So are you wrong about Ange then?
Could it have been that Daniel Levy didn't want to win yesterday? There are multiple different things that there's a possibility that from within the foundations are flawed. And this is where Tottenham Hotspur fail always.
Are you
Flawed-
wrong about
flawed
Ange? Can
foundation.
Hussam? Are you wrong about Ange, Hussam? So were you wrong
Yes,
about Ange?
I'm wrong about Ange.
Okay.
100%.
I want
And
to read
And
you guys.
actually, I love what you said
Sorry.
yesterday. I watched the
wanna-
whole press conference.
I want to read some comments that Spurs fans have put out, quote tweeting what Ange just said. The first here says he just doesn't get it. He's absolutely no idea about the hatred that comes with a rivalry. I've never owned a Sharp TV because of Manchester United. That's a fragile mentality. I mean, this is true, man. When I lived in Manchester and worked there, I used to sell phones in a phone shop, and Man City fans, most of them wouldn't get a phone that was on a Vodafone contract because they sponsored Manchester United. Now, I understand that to a certain degree because you don't want to give money to a sponsor that's giving money to the football club that you're trying to compete against. That makes sense. But Spurs were playing for something. Yes, if Spurs were 8th, nothing to play for, again, I think it would be different. But yesterday they were celebrating at the same time that it was confirmed that they were not going to be in the Champions League. Another fan here has said, remember, Ange, this club was founded in 1882. You're incredibly important to how we progress now, and I'm looking forward to next season. But you're just passing through. We are in it for life. How can we choose to support a club? How we choose to support a club is down to us and us alone. Another guy then said, we support the club the way in which we want. You are responsible for us not having enough points up until this stage, so don't blame us for this one loss. And firstly, part of me just thinks, I understand rivalry, I understand tribalism, I get it. I get it at a national, I get it at a club level, and I get it at international level. I also competed for my country. And yes, you'd be up against, whenever I fought against a French guy or a German guy, there's always a little bit more animosity there because sporting wise, France, England, Germany have these huge rivalries. But this is different, in my opinion. It's the attitude of celebrating your team losing is different from not wanting Arsenal to win the league. I don't know how you see it. I know you're an Inter fan, Mo, but if it was the other way around last night, if you were playing if Inter Milan could make the Champions League with a win, but if you do win, it means that AC Milan are going to win the league. Would you rather forfeit an opportunity of winning the Champions League next year at the behest of AC Milan? Do you get where Spurs fans are coming from?
This is where both of you are wrong, actually. I actually see where every Spurs fan is coming from. And I said that on my show. I actually think I'm gonna flip it to you guys. If Arsenal are playing Aston Villa and Spurs are about to win the league, Arsenal fan would willingly accept the loss. And I'm not talking about the players, because Hussam is calling out the fans. Players are different, right? Arsenal fans would accept the loss against Aston Villa because they have no rivalry with Aston Villa for Spurs not to win the league. And anyone that says otherwise actually is not telling the truth, is saying what makes them sleep well at night again. And my majority of the people that say what Hussam is saying are the people that didn't want City to win the league because they want to put it on that Spurs didn't play. It's copium. It's absolutely copium. The facts are that Spurs fans completely convinced. There are 3 types of Spurs fans. Number one, the people that are convinced that they aren't going to make Champions League, that Aston Villa only needed a draw in the last day of the Premier League, and they don't have a chance. The second part is that the people that think that Champions League is going to hurt their club genuinely. And by the way, that has been said. You agree or disagree with them before them even making Champions League or not. Someone like Jacob said that. Like, that is before this game. So it's not them saying it because of this game. And I understand these people. I disagree with them, but I understand them. This is their point of view. And I actually think they are right. If losing to Man City means that Arsenal don't win the Premier League, it's their right to feel this way. It's not that they are losing a competition for it. They aren't losing a competition. Let me finish.
Okay, yeah.
But calling out the players and saying that Son missed on purpose, that's different. I am not in Son's intention. Now you're calling Son's integrity. Now you're calling young men's sons morals. That's different. Now you're calling the players cheats because they aren't. That's called match fixing. People go to jail for this, for match fixing. That's different than a fan celebrating.
Yeah.
I am
So,
with Spurs
so,
fans here.
so, Mo, I agree with you that I don't think Son missed that chance on purpose. I think Spurs players and the manager tried to win yesterday. 110%. I agree. I understand with not wanting Arsenal to win the league.
Yes.
And there are comments that have come in here, and this one from Cal, long-standing member, a good friend of the channel, says, I don't think we can win the Champions League, though I've said it countless times. But it isn't just about what you do next year. I think we've all agreed on a consensus in the football terrace community that Arsenal were never going to win the Champions League this year because this squad and team lacks experience. But how do you gain that experience is by being in the Champions League as regularly as possible. Very few teams in the modern day era get into it for the first time and win it. When Chelsea were already in it before they got the money from Roman, but then they were in it regularly, it took them years to win it. City have had money and ambition for 10, 12 years before they won it. It took time to build up the resilience and the experience of being in the competition. If you want to get to the very top, you have to put your club first in that way. And I understand the element of I'm really glad Arsenal haven't won the league. I'm not saying that element of tribalism should go. But I was in a position for weeks building up to the Man United game where I was like, yeah, I'd be happy for us to lose. It got to very close to the game, and my mind, I couldn't do it. I could not bring myself to want my team to lose. It just didn't compute with me. It didn't feel right. But then I'm the same type of person. I can't put another club shirt on my skin. I can't put another nation's shirt on me. That makes me feel like a cheater. That makes me feel physically sick. So, but that's because it's that for me. Like when people go out and buy a PSG shirt, I feel like what they're doing is they're financially supporting a team that's trying to better you. I don't understand the logic of giving them any money. That's different from, I don't see that as the same as hoping something happens. I hoped that anybody other than City won the league this season because that 4P is a piece of history that I don't want to see happen. But at the same time, I've never wanted my team to lose. I wouldn't start doing the Poznan in the stadium. And I think the manager, and this is where I look at it from a different angle. I think Ange Postecoglou so far in his career has been a winner. He's got a winner's mentality. Winners don't agree with what Spurs fans did. Typically speaking, just losers have. And I always look at it, if the winners are saying, no, you shouldn't do this, your mentality should be different. Liverpool Football Club, they went a long time without winning the Prem, but they still won trophies. The way they performed on the final day of the season against Blackburn and beat them, they gave Man United a chance of winning the league. But that's because Liverpool Football Club, even though they didn't win the league for a number of years, they were still winning FA Cups and League Cups and European trophies. They were a club that's built upon winning. So their mentality is, no, we try our best to win every single game. You're not going to win every game, but you go out there on that pitch and you give your all every single step of the way. And that mentality is built over time. And that mentality that's built over time is what leads to all those trophies. I think when you start saying, right, we can turn it off this game and we can turn it off that game, it's okay not to win here. I think the message that sends into your football club is that we don't need to win. And it's a subtle message. But over the course of time, those subtle messages can become quite potent. So I get Spurs fans being happy Arsenal haven't won the league. That I agree with. But the whole week build up to the game, sending emails in, please don't win, wearing City shirts. I just felt like some people went too far.
And
maybe they went too far, but
I, by the way, is fundamentally wrong with something. One second more. I is fundamentally wrong with something.
Hold on.
No one thought that Pochettino and Tottenham Hotspur are going to get to a Champions League final. No one ever thought that. At the start of the Champions League campaign, if I came on the football terrace and said, guys, Pochettino and Spurs are going to get to a Champions League final, everyone would have been like, ha, 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 and laughed at my face. Last year, the same Ange Postecoglou side right now, if they were on the Inter side of the draw, where they played Benfica and Porto and AC Milan, what's stopping them from getting to a Champions League final? You don't know for a fact that you cannot be in a position to win a Champions League final.
No, I agree.
Even look at this season. Bayern are beatable. Bayern and Arsenal were on one side, you know, and you look at the other side is a lot weaker.
I think you're just
PSG.
I think this is Lily White. Hang on a second. I want to go to some of the comments here. Lily White says, so you're saying that we've got a loser mentality because we didn't want Arsenal to win. No, not wanting Arsenal to win is fine. You're not listening. You guys celebrated the very moment that your season ended and you missed out on a really good opportunity of playing in the biggest cup competition in the world. The same as this comment here says, as a City fan, we have won everything, and I would happily lose to Spurs if it meant wet Trafford and Man U didn't win the league. I don't care. But it isn't just about losing. It's would you say like City, you're still a very good team and you're sitting in 5th and you've got to win to keep your Champions League hopes alive. You would sacrifice a season in the Champions League to stop Man United from winning? I don't think Man City Football Club would.
Yeah, but you're making it as if they won this game, they would have made the Champions League. I think that's when you both
they
are
might
wrong.
do. They might do. Do you want to know why it isn't wrong? Do you want to know it isn't wrong, right? I remember once watching an interview with Roger Federer. And Roger Federer won a game at Wimbledon where he was 2 sets down and he was facing a match point. And he carried on fighting and he got it back to deuce and he ended up winning that game. He ended up winning that set and he went on to win 3-2. And someone asked him a question like, how did you keep fighting when the game was essentially lost? You were down, you at the match point, you hadn't won a set yet. And he said, well, you just don't give up, do you? You don't give up, you keep fighting because anything is possible. And no, it isn't different. That is how winners think. So if Spurs had a winning mentality, it would be this. It would be, do you know what? Let's go out there and try and win. Because if we do win, anything can happen between Aston Villa and Crystal Palace on Sunday. Anything can happen in that game. And we could find ourselves in the Champions League next year. Spurs have improved this season. I think they've faded towards the end because of their squad. If they have another good summer under Big Ange and improve this squad again, they could be an even better team next year and be in the Champions League. That is not beyond the realm. And a lot of these Spurs fans that are defending this mentality are the same Spurs fans like Dan who really rate their team and really rate their manager. So the people that I see really rate their team and manager are celebrating not being in the biggest it's the giving up. So like I've said, if they were sitting 8th and nothing to play for, it wouldn't make much difference. But it was the way they had people sending letters into the club begging for the game to be thrown away. And Kate agreed.